Hello and welcome back to BeewellwithMS Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Agne Straukiene, neurologist. And today we are going to talk about the very, very important subject that it matters to everyone and needs to be even more discussed and talked about in many, many meetings that we have within the workforce or at home. We're going to talk about the burnout. Whether you're living with MS or maybe you're supporting someone who lives with MS or maybe you work as a healthcare provider, burnout can slowly drain energy, can take away resilience and joy in life. But there are ways to prevent it. Joining me for this conversation, I'm very, very proud and honored to have Dr. Sunil Kumar. Sunil is anesthetist by background. He's also a lifestyle medicine physician, executive health coach, author, and international speaker within 20 years of experience and expertise working at the intersection in health, leadership, and performance. So he leads on lifestyle medicine education at Imperial College London, contributes to international board of lifestyle medicine. He's also chief editor of the forthcoming Oxford Handbook of Lifestyle Medicine. And through his PrEP framework, which we're going to talk in a minute, books and teaching, Sunil has helped countless of individuals and organizations prevent burnout, build resilience, and learn how to thrive. Together, we will explore how lifestyle medicine can transform self-care, and it goes from luxury into leadership skills, and why lifestyle medicine offers practical, evidence-based solutions for people living with MS or maybe healthcare professionals. So welcome to this episode, Sunil.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Agne. I'm genuinely excited to be here with your community. And thank you so much for inviting to your podcast. And you're doing a wonderful job by spreading all the awareness and information. Obviously, I've given my introduction already. So I have what you might call a split personality in the best way because I'm an anesthesiologist and as well as I help people through some of the most vulnerable moments. And I'm also a lifestyle medicine physician and a health coach. So right from the primary prevention to the tertiary presentation of the patients, I've seen all through.
You have such a wonderful skill in life. So making people feel better themselves, but not just whilst they are anesthetized, unconscious, but also when they regain their awareness of their environment, you make them feel better about themselves and thrive in this life. So we really would like to learn from you, Snell, and try to understand, maybe to start with, what is the burnout? Why it matters? Why you're so interested in this subject?
Well, obviously, burnout is quite a rampant issue throughout any profession, anybody, and each and everyone who's living in the world. So the truth is, I got into the second role into this lifestyle medicine and health coaching because I kept seeing the same heartbreaking pattern. Amazing people, the doctors who had been trained for years, the carers pouring their hearts out, and patients who were fighting incredibly hard battles for their chronic diseases, were slowly losing themselves, and not dramatically but quietly. Just like a phone battery that drains so slowly, you don't even notice until it is at 5% or 10%. The science is crystal clear here. Chronic stress literally rewires our brains. You, being a neurologist, you will know better than me. It does shrink our prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that helps us think clearly and make good decisions. And it floods our system with cortisol, which is a stress hormone. But here's the good news though. Brains are remarkably plastic. Small, consistent changes can literally rebuild those neural pathways back to normal. And that's what I want to talk about today. The practical, evidence-based strategies that will work in the real world. And
Mm.
the burnout is defined in various ways by different people. It's been defined as a chronic stress related syndrome with extreme exhaustion, extreme depersonalization, and losing one's own identity. Secondary to chronic stress, work related chronic stress, which is not being addressed. So that's what this burnout is to be. It is defined by WHO as well. It is been defined by psychologists. It has been defined by the psychiatrists as well. So in common layman terms, it's a chronic stress, work-related stress, which is not been addressed either personally or by the system.
Okay. And what are the hidden signs? How do I know that, because a lot of people may struggle to find these kind of early signs of the burnout, but, how not to miss that? What is it?
Obviously, let me tell you how it looks like actually in your brain and body, because understanding the signs helps you to fight back and understand the symptoms which can come early. When you're chronically stressed, as I told you, your amygdala, the part of the brain, which is, you can probably think it as a brain's smoke detector, it gets hyperactive. It's constantly scanning for threats, even when you are theoretically safe. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex, which handles complex thinking and emotional regulation, it goes offline. And it's like trying to use your smartphone while the battery is dying. Everything runs slower and it glitches. The burnout itself comes in various stages. One is at the initial stage, it's called honeymoon stage, where you are getting into the zone of optimal performance, or sometimes you end up doing more performance, but not looking after yourself for recovery periods. Then, which, if it is unnoticed or if unattended, it will go into the next stage, which is a chronic stress stage. And then it goes to burnout stage and the chronic burnout stage. So there are 5 stages. It's a honeymoon phase, stress, chronic stress, burnout, and complete like chronic burnout, where it is difficult to get back. In healthcare, I see colleagues who have lost what neuroscientists call cognitive empathy. It's a brain's mirror neuron system. It is so overwhelmed that it can't properly attune to the patients anymore. When you look into leadership, it's a decision fatigue, because research shows that we make about 35,000 decisions a day. And each one depletes our mental resources. By afternoon, even choosing what to have for lunch feels impossible. And with the people who are with the chronic illnesses like MS, or who are dealing with them, caring for those patients, with what scientists call it's called allostatic load, which is a cumulative wear and tear of adapting to ongoing stress. So your nervous system is already working overtime, managing symptoms, but managing symptoms add life stressors. And it's like when the phone is running 20 apps and you're also asking you to stream a movie. So always glitches are happening. So the early warning signs are that your nervous system, the SOS signal of the nervous system gets disrupted. Sleep gets disrupted. Your brain can't properly clear toxins because of that. You get gut issues because 30% of our serotonin is made in our gut, which is highly stress sensitive. And you get brain fog that is due to inflammation of affecting neural communications. And that Sunday scary is feeling like anticipating anxiety, triggering your stress response, like I'm starting work on Monday again. Burnout isn't a character flaw, though. It's a more of a nervous system doing exactly what it evolved to do when facing chronic threat. Except now the threat is never switches off.
It feels you're chased by the lion nonstop, basically.
You're getting chased and you're running, but you don't know where the lion is coming from, but you know lion is coming to. So that's a big problem, yes.
Yeah. And I guess you mentioned a few things and raising awareness of these kind of hidden signs. So when you stop looking after yourself, like when you don't care anymore how you look, what you want, how you think, what's going on around you. So this is the first probably hidden, and then it goes into lack of sleep and anxiety, worries. non-stop. So yeah, these are symptoms of burnout, and not wanting to make decisions in your life. I guess that's another that I picked up.
The main three things are, the first thing is exhaustion. It starts with physical exhaustion. You completely feel tired and you don't want to, I mean, same amount of work you used to do with so much enthusiasm before, but you
Mhm.
start feeling tired. And that leads, if it's not attended, it leads to emotional exhaustion as well. You start getting depressed, you start getting dissociated from work, from colleagues, from family, from yourself, slowly getting into the severe stages of burnout. And also, along with emotion, along with physical exhaustion, there is a mental exhaustion as well. So all these symptoms will start, it might mimic like any depression or any other psychiatric disorder or something else, but symptoms are developing. And this is the stage. It's not just a psychological syndrome. There is a physiological response. There are some markers which you see, because I just told you there's inflammation going on. So you get inflammatory markers, CRP gets raised, interleukin 6 gets raised, TNF alpha gets raised. And
Mhm.
in addition to the inflammation, there is obviously the other parts, like parts of the brain, which I already discussed with you. Amygdala gets shrunken, and there's overfiring of sympathetic activity rather than the parasympathetic activity. And you also notice that stress related hormone cortisol gets at least 20 to 30% high all the time if it's chronically stressed, and if you're not regulating it, they stay higher than normal at 20 to 30%. And eventually, there's a blunting response to circadian rhythm as well. It doesn't peak on the normal times when it's supposed to peak, and it doesn't do so. You can see there's a physiology disruption along with psychological symptoms. So it is definitely a big issue.
Yeah, big shift. This is real. This is the reason why we're talking. It changes anatomy, it changes biology, it changes chemicals, it changes inflammatory markers in our bodies, it changes the hormones, it changes the metabolism. So it's a real package of events in one single body. And most important, not to ignore that and early identify these symptoms, because there is help, and we're going to talk about what help people could introduce into their day-to-day living. But do you know why people develop this burnout? I think it's a widespread issue within the health and leadership in everyday life. Whether you have chronic condition or you don't, why people feel the way they feel, and you described all these symptoms. I was like thinking now, do I have burnout?
Yeah, because as I told you, it is a part of the chronic stress syndrome. If you look at the graph, which is, if you look at the y-axis as a performance, and if you look at the x-axis, which is down arrow, as your stress levels, as you start getting more and more stress, the performance starts increasing, as we know. And there comes the time when the stress levels go up to the stage when the performance is at the peak. And then after that, whatever stress you get, you're going to go down below on the performance. It's like a bell curve. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that there's some good part of the stress initially, because unless you have that good part of the stress, you can't show your talent, or you can't perform to your optimal performance levels, because the competition needs that little bit of stress. And also for you to do better, you need a little bit of stress. That's called good stress or eustress. And whatever happens in that zone of optimal performance, we call it as a flow state. And everybody will have our own flow states. Like, you must be noticed, at certain day or a certain part of the time, you perform the activity, same task, in a much better way, with the less of your involvement, but more happily you'll do it and more happily you finish it. That's your flow state. And sometimes what happens, a lot of people take the work as complete life. Work is part of life, it's not full life. So once people's taking it so seriously that it actually crosses your zone of optimal performance, then whatever pressure you take to achieve whatever abnormal things you're aiming for, or competing with somebody else negatively, so that will push you towards the bad stress. And that stress stays longer and longer, because until you come back from that towards your optimal performance side, if you stay in that zone, that chronic stress, more longer it stays, it gets into burnout stage. and it gets into end stage burnout where you really need some psychiatric help rather than just doing our self care. So I feel the lack of self care here is the main thing which put people towards getting stressed or getting burnt out. So everybody should feel and understand what zone of optimum performance they can do with the minimal stress they can take and do it. And self care, as I told, it's not a luxury, it's a leadership skill. It's a self leadership skill. This isn't a touchy feely stuff, it's a neuroscience, because the mirror neurons mean that people literally sync up with the emotional states of those around them, especially leaders and carers. So here all this comes into how you define burnout and how the environment around you causes it. So the research from Harvard shows that when leaders model stress recovery behaviors, it reduces cortisol levels throughout the entire system, not just the leader. So when you take proper breaks, your nervous system sends safety signals that others unconsciously pick up on. So practical example, while working in an ICU, one of the consultants who started taking 2-minute breathing breaks between the patients, just for 2 minutes, not only did her own heart rate variability improved, which is a measure of her nervous system resilience, but her team started reporting better job satisfaction as well. She wasn't preaching wellness, she was just modeling it. Okay. So for carers, science is even more compelling. Studies on caregiving burden show that those who practice regular self-care have lower inflammatory markers and better immune function. So you are literally more effective at caring for others when you care for yourself first. It's just like having your oxygen mask in case of emergency in aeroplane. Oxygen mask first yours and then you give it to others. So that's how it is. Again, when you're all rested and regulated, your prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO we call, can make better decisions and see creative solutions as well. But when you're depleted, you're literally running on your reptilian brain, fight, flight, or freeze mode all the time. So your well-being isn't selfish, it's contagious. And the science proves that when you are regulated, everyone around you benefits, including you.
Mhm. You said that so beautifully. Self-care is a leadership skill, and you mentioned a lot in your whenever you give a speech or your books, etc. I guess it's shifting the mindset from being reactive to being more proactive. And your first advice to the audience is taking regular breaks improves your well-being and satisfaction and minimizes the risk of the burnout. You know, we quite often forget ourselves in having these regular breaks. And if you're living with multiple sclerosis, of course you have a brain fog and fatigue, and partially this coming from the underlying condition and disease. But then not wearing off yourself. I always say to people, you know, pace yourself, take a moment to breathe. And I guess you mentioned about the anatomy changes within the brain, which is amygdala, prefrontal cortex shrinkage and switches off, which is such an essential organ for executive function. I guess there must be some practical skills. And I think meditation, from my studies and learning that, you know, practicing meditation and mindfulness can stimulate and shrink the amygdala and enhance the activity of prefrontal cortex. It's one of the way of dealing and self-caring, right, Sunil? And I just want to maybe go into your framework that you publish and advise to people, PrEP framework. So shall we talk about how to build this resilience and prevent yourself from getting the burnout?
Yeah. I think after coaching so many people, what I realized is there needed a framework which combined neuroscience, lifestyle medicine, and some coaching techniques, along with the evidence backing solutions. So that's how the PrEP framework came into vogue. PrEP is PREP. It stands for P is for prevent, the first one. The second one is rewire, R is rewire, and E is elevate, and last P is perform. It's a science-based, again, protocol for well-being, resilience, and sustainable performances. So prevent, the goal of prevent stage is to reduce the risk and protect well-being. This is where in this quadrant, in prevent quadrant, lifestyle foundations like nutrition, physical activity, sleep, stress regulation, and social connections come into play. We can identify early warning signs of burnout and chronic disease in prevent framework. And then building
Listen to your body. Listen to your
just listen
body.
to your body, exactly.
Yeah.
And as I told you, there's exhaustion in physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion happens. So if you look at this, it is like a 3 bank accounts. And in those 3 bank accounts, if you get anything physical related stuff like nutrition, physical activity, and all those things, if it is depleting, you keep on filling it. It's like a bank account. Unless you fill the bank account, you can't spend it. So similarly, in all 3 different domains, you keep on spending all the energy, but also keep on improving it. Like emotional energy, emotional exhaustion, and mental exhaustion. You can deal with social connection. You can deal with regulating stress regulation. You can deal with sleep. You can do it mindfulness, meditation, and all those things. So in the prevent phase, we identify early warning signs of burnout and chronic disease, and use lifestyle medicine pillars, and then we build protective routines and boundaries before the crisis emerges as well. So it's more about pattern recognition. Like if I'm going every day to work with the full enthusiasm, like my first day, compared to my first day of work, and now, if I see same amount of time I put, 8 hours, whatever, or same amount of energy I have, and same amount of enthusiasm I should have, and same amount of interest I should have to do the same job, because I came into this field that I love it with passion. So if something is coming down slowly, when you think that, okay, I put everything, I gave my optimal state of my stress levels to perform better, but still something is missing or something was going away from me, that is a time I should stop, pause, and think which bank account is getting depleted too much, where I should fill that bank account more is main key in the prevent phase. So your brain loves predictability. It uses about 20% of your total energy. So it's always looking for shortcuts. So when we anticipate stressors and have plans, we reduce what neuroscientists call cognitive load. Simple example is if you meal prepping on Sunday, it will reduce your 21 decisions throughout the week, because you've done this one decision you already made and planned to avoid 21 decisions throughout the week, because 3 meals a day and 7 days, 7 times 3 is 21 days, 21 decisions. So that's prevent. Then coming to Rewire. In Rewire, the goal is to reset the mindset and also to reset the nervous system. As I told, this all neurological inflammation and other things which we can reverse it as well by applying all these principles. So there's evidence-based techniques for stress physiology like mindfulness and somatic regulation as well. And shifting the limiting belief into growth-oriented narratives, we can do it in this phase. And also we can leverage the neuroplasticity to create sustainable behavior change here. So basically, Rewire targets neuroplasticity, which is your brain's ability to form new neural pathways. For example, the 4-7-8 breathing technique activates your vagus nerve, and within 30 seconds, shifting you from sympathetic, like stress state, to parasympathetic rest state, which is simple, but people don't want simple, they want complicated. I feel like hitting a reset button, that's a hardwired into your biology. And that's what,
A few breaths a day, right? That would stimulate the nervous vagus. Like when it's feeling so overwhelmed and you're rushing around and you're doing school runs, 3 deep breaths, that rewires your brain.
3 deep breaths, or getting conscious of your breathing patterns. Like some people we all don't realize we're breathing. If you just give rest and fully concentrate on your breathing pattern, just normal breathing pattern, the simplest thing people can do, even that takes back to parasympathetic dominance. And next is, as you said, deep breaths. And people practice box breathing. People practice rectangular breathing or 4-7-8 breathing. So all these techniques are actually making your parasympathetic system overdrive, which is rest and recovery stimulation happens. There's also, if you go back and see when our ancestors used to sit and eat food, before eating food, they used to either pray or they used to thank farmers and eat. The reason is the whole gut system is parasympathetic. Unless you stimulate parasympathetic system, there will be some functional problems of digestion or anything else, because what we are doing now, either we're eating it fast or we're eating while watching TV or talking to somebody while checking emails. So all the things which are happening along with eating is sympathetic dominance is happening already there. So how can you stimulate your parasympathetic system where gut is fully parasympathetic, if you look at it? So this is one example I'm saying just. So that's about your rewire.
Well, exercise, I guess a brisk walk in the nature, some exercise that rewires, it builds up neuroplasticity. It helps the neurons to communicate better.
Definitely. I think, yeah. Again, walking in nature, physical activity, as well as exposure to nature, both are important. And also connection, social connection, connecting with people, talking face to face, and all those things help as well to build this neuroplasticity towards rewiring, meeting things. So if you look at it again, it all go back to 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. Everything is there in that. So number 3 is elevate, E. The goal here is to, once you get prevent everything, once you go back to the rewiring thing, then you have to elevate it now. How do you elevate it? Elevation is nothing but strengthening your resilience and meaning, your purpose in life for work or for anything else. So you're going a step higher here. So it is cultivating our purpose, cultivating our values, and cultivating our intrinsic motivation as well. The positive psychology tools like to build optimism, gratitude, and hope, all these things come here to elevate you. It enhances your identity and your self-efficacy for long-term well-being.
Which is a grounding technique, in other words. Yeah, so you sort of go back to your, I always like this analogy or metaphor that imagine that your values in life is like an anchor. It's static, it's there. You need to come and visit and revisit and see whether it's the right place and still there, basically.
Yes.
And then the buoy attached to this anchor, that it may be influenced by the tide, is your behavior, which may change, but your values remain very, very static. So if Elevate is revisiting these grounding techniques that saying, okay, who you are, what do you do in this life? What's your purpose? What you meant to do? Are you doing your job? Is it your problem, or is someone else the problem and anxiety that you're taking on your shoulders?
You put it in the right way, and you gave a good example as well there. It is very true. But when you ask psychologists, they call it as post-traumatic growth. So there are some psychologists and scientists believe that burnout is almost akin to post-traumatic stress disorder. So you can see there's a post-traumatic growth happening in the elevate stage here. When we connect with purpose and meaning, we activate the brain's reward patterns, releasing dopamine, oxytocin. Again, this isn't just feeling good. It's literally rewiring your brain for resilience, isn't it? So as a neurologist, you will know better than me again there. So it is.
Not many people can reach the elevate stage, if they haven't passed the prevent and rewiring.
Yeah.
So it's super important to get this kind of in the right order as well.
Yeah. Again, I treat this burnout as I don't symptom manage it. I go to the root. So if you just symptom manage it, you can go prevent and you can go for rewiring. But if you leave them at rewiring stage, they'll come back again with same symptoms later. So unless you go to the root, how do you reach to the root? So I believe the treatment for burnout is not preventing burnout or treating burnout. It is to find the professional resilience and professional well-being, and also reaching your optimal performance. So rather than negatively treating that, go on positively building the professional resilience. So that's why the elevate and perform stage both will come together. So now coming to the last P, which is perform. Now this is about flourishing in work and life with sustainable success. So sustainable success will only come when you actually go deeper to the root and find out what was it causing. Is there an identity problem? Is there a values problem? And is there any what you call passion or purpose problems? So high performance habits like focus, energy management, time mastery, all these things we can probably teach them at this stage. Even the psychological safety, teamwork, leadership strategies. So all these come into play there. And thriving in uncertainty while protecting health and balance, that's what is a perform stage actually. So don't worry about the chaos around you. Chaos is always there. You can't say there's no chaos, I'll be calm. No, you have to be calm in the chaos. You should be able to reach to the stage, and you should aim to reach to that stage with questioning yourself why, how, what, about values, about the our purpose, our success, and our mastery. Everything comes in there. So perform is about working with your biology, not against it. Now, research has shown again we have natural ultradian rhythms like 90 to 120-minute cycles of high and low energy, just like sleep cycles. When you align important tasks with your peak times, you are literally optimizing your brain chemistry. So again, example is again, I worked with prep to go from 3 sick days a month to becoming her wellness champion. Started by tracking energy patterns, doing box breathing in supply closets, for example, and volunteering to mentor students, like which is again elevating, and scheduling difficult conversation during her peak morning hours, which is a perform stage. It is like you're actually aligning with your peak performance stage. So all these things do help. And I know it's too difficult for me to explain everything about prep in this short time. So, but at least I gave a good glimpse of what it covers.
Totally, absolutely amazing to hear that. And just to maybe summarize this last point, perform is almost like a revisiting what you've done so far that led you to feel how you feel, and use the time efficiently that really works for you. If you can't function at 8 a.m., you don't sign for writing big projects at 8 a.m. Maybe your peak performance is 10 to 11 or 10 till 2 p.m. and you choose the right timing to complete the task that you planned the day before, maybe. So really playing smart and clever, but always using the executive function prefrontal cortex to revisit, is your battery full? What's missing? Have I done my routine to fill me with all these kind of nourishment and food and exercise that is going to rewire my brain? And what are my values? What's important to me? Am I living my own life or someone else's life now? So to feel good about yourself. So this is elevate. And then this is where you go into the performance, perform well.
Yeah.
If you choose the right things at the right time and you're fully aware of your body needs. Is that correct?
It's correct. I think you summed up a very in a right, nice way. To make it more easier for some viewers, it might be difficult to remember prep and what medical terminology we used. For them, I'd say we used to believe success is work-life balance. I tell them it's a work-life, passion, purpose, balance. 4 things every day or every week, every month. Sit down with yourself and see in these 4 domains, what are you doing? Work is work again. It's not full life.
Yeah.
Life is life, which is time spent with you yourself, time spent with family, time spent people around you, friends. Then purpose is the big why, the purpose of doing your job, the purpose of staying in this world. People can question themselves. And then the passion. Lot of medical professionals, obviously it's not just medical professionals listening to us, a lot of medical professionals, we enter into the university at younger age when we don't even know whether this is our passion. And we just get into the system thinking we are passionate, and we stick to it as long as we still get that passionate and interest keeps going us. But in the meantime, we might have missed out on what other things we could have developed, or what other things we could have had a potential to develop among us. So that is the best thing to find out at this stage. Someone might be a good musician. So yeah, please explore that. Maybe a football, maybe a sportsman, anything. Do it. That's your passion.
Yeah.
Purpose is helping communities or helping somebody without expecting anything back. Normally end up leaving these two for post-retirement lives. But I always tell them, don't do that, because it is useful for you to have it now. Even though if you do only 1 day or 1 hour in a month of charitable activity or anything like purpose-related activity, still it's needed. So keep the balance in life, passion, and purpose.
And don't overdo things. There's a lot of people these days, in particular parents and carers, they're giving a lot of their time and energy and emotions and they're forgetting themselves. So I think, again, going back and what we discussed, grounding technique, understanding where you are, what's going on, super important. Shall we move into the lifestyle medicine? And particularly, I'm interested into chronic conditions, of course, as majority of our listeners are living with MS. And people these days know that they have to eat healthy and sleep and give up smoking and give up drinking excessively and maybe socially connect, etc. But sometimes when you're in that kind of burnout situation, feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, maybe an anxiety, maybe panic attacks reoccurring in your life, what would be your advice for those who are feeling overwhelmed about making these kind of health changes? Of course, they need some improvement. As everyone else in this world, we need to work on our health. But what would be your sort of advice to people who are feeling really low in that sort of low moment and situation, how to make these health changes to improve their lifestyle?
Yeah, it is quite difficult at that stage because if you look at all the pillars of lifestyle medicine, the first is healthy eating, which is nutrition, then the physical activity, then the restorative sleep, stress management, and then the social connection. You can probably call connection because the connection to social people as well as connected to higher as well is also comes into play there. And the last is avoidance of any risky substance abuse, which could be smoking, alcohol, drugs, or even ultra processed foods. They're all risky foods. So if you look at all these pillars, there's one pillar which has its own effect, and also it will affect all other pillars, which is stress. You might be a very good athlete, very good in nutrition, sleep, and everything else, but you are stressed. You will never go and eat healthy if you want to as well. You will not get the time to go or time or energy to go for any physical activity. Sleep gets disturbed and this thing towards because of the chronic stress. Also, all the avoidance of risky substances is very difficult for you to do that, and you will not definitely connect socially with anybody else. So stress. So all these carers and all these people with suffering from chronic conditions, they have, if one pillar they have to work on is stress first. Have to work on stress management first so that other pillars will automatically get motivated or inspired by your own successes in stress management.
And the stress, revisiting your correct framework.
Yes, exactly.
Going backwards and going through the stages and steps that we discussed.
Definitely. Again, the research on lifestyle medicine and neurological conditions is honestly mind-blowing. Yeah. And if you look at the movement, like physical activity, even gentle exercise increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is like fertilizer for our brain cells. For people with MS, studies have shown that adapted exercises can actually slow disease progression and improve cognitive function as well, as you know already. We are not talking about marathons or 10,000 steps here.
Yeah.
Even chair exercises or swimming will activate these pathways. Simple
walking,
chair exercises, even if they can't move much, they can do the chair exercises as well. Then in nutrition, if you look at it, Mediterranean diet reduces inflammation markers by up to 30% in MS patients. And your gut microbiome, which we now know talks directly to your brain via the vagus nerve, it also responds to anti-inflammatory foods within days. You don't have to wait for a few months.
That's a short period of time.
Short period of time.
Never too late to start it now, basically.
No, start now. You don't have to plan. You don't need anybody specialist to talk to you, or you don't need plenty of literature to read to. No, small things will bring huge impact. But the problem is about consistency. So do as small as possible, which can be consistent. That's what I tell people, because that consistency helps them rather than the motivation. So then the sleep, for example, this is huge for MS patients. During sleep, your brain's lymphatic system clears out all the metabolic waste, including the proteins that cause inflammation. So poor sleep literally leaves toxic buildup in your brain, so you can't do much. And unless you don't sleep, the other things are not happening. Metabolic functions which need to be resting, and also this buildup of all toxic things has to be taken off. All those things are not happening if you sleep poor. Stress, as you asked me, it increases inflammatory cytokines, which we already discussed. Again, that triggers your MS. It flares it up. But amazing part is that Just 8 weeks of mindfulness practice physically changes brain structure, increasing gray matter in areas associated with emotional regulation. So you can see the power here. But we don't get these marketed because they are not from the pharma.
Yes, it's just such an important highlights, that you just mentioned. These are simple daily practices that everyone in this world could incorporate into their day-to-day activity, living, and we wouldn't spend a second, a minute today discussing about these approaches if they were not evidence-based and not strongly evidence-based approaches in lifestyle medicine that changes the biology, changes the anatomy, improves people's outcomes, diminishes the chance of having new relapses. Yes, we have other medicine biologics that needs to be there and you need to take your medicine as prescribed. However, what about other side, more holistic approach of your general well-being, your whole body, entirely all the system and cells that needs to play the orchestra and nice music together. And you can only achieve that if you eat well, sleep well, exercise, give up smoking now, because
Yes.
if you just heard from Sunil, that changes happens in a day's time.
Even in connection, like loneliness triggers the same inflammatory pathways as physical injury. So, but strong social connections boost immune functions, and it even helps with medication adherence as well, which is important. So, again, I'm not saying lifestyle medicine will cure MS, but it creates optimal conditions for your brain and body to function at their best, and whatever that looks like for you. So, it is up to you. So,
It's like you're creating a nice soil for the plant to grow, basically.
exactly.
And that's what you're doing. And for the medicine, from my experience as neurologist, prescriber, and using all these biologic agents to control the disease activity, I always say to people, that drugs actually works better if you have healthy body. If you continue overwhelming your body with various different stressors and very poor quality lifestyle, the drugs have limited amount of action in your body because, you create an environment that is very, very much inflammatory. Even the powerful drugs, they're not always effective, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I look at it as if these diseases are not due to deficiency of these medications. It is due to the altered physiology because of the lifestyle changes which we have cultivated. So unless you change the lifestyle factors, the physiology doesn't get altered back to normal. And once they get back to normal, the medications will obviously will work if they need it at that time. But my intention is to lifestyle first for anything. Yeah.
Yes. And if you practice the lifestyle and advice that we provided today, you can prevent yourself from developing MS. Because if you look at the factors that causes MS, is very much environmental. It's very much stress related. It's very much obesity related. If you are as a child obese and that goes into your adulthood, the chance is huge to develop MS. So it's also practicing prevention of getting this horrible condition such as MS. Let's talk about the systemic changes in healthcare. And I see a lot of people and my colleagues who provide the best care they can, and they're excellent physicians, healthcare assistants, coordinators, secretaries, nurses who are experiencing burnout. What can we do to help the healthcare professionals to protect themselves from the team burnout? Because everyone is so vulnerable these days. They feel like they're understaffed, they are overworking. How can we change this kind of crisis mode and initiate real culture changes within the organizations?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think a lot of burnout issues are due to organizational problems. And we can only build certain level of resilience and certain level of preventative aspects of not getting burnt out, or we can prevent stress related things. But unless the system changes, it's difficult. Look at, most of us, if you, I've just always give an analogy of a toaster and a bread, a slice of bread. A slice of bread is ourselves, for example. The toaster itself is a system. You put the bread and you put some heating. Some heating is needed for you to perform better. But if you give too much of heating, you don't perform better. You get into burnout state. So it has got the system, the toaster itself has got a mechanism to let us know if it is getting burnt or overburnt. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as it overburns, there is a siren goes off. Everybody comes, fire alarm goes off. Everybody comes and stops everything. If that can happen to a slice of bread, why it doesn't happen for all of us working in the system? Why there is no alarm which can bring the fire alarm kind of audible alarms to all of us getting burnt out? So since it is not there, so we have to find out our own level of heat where we perform better. And once we go to that heat level, then we should have our own mechanism to stop and say, this is what I can do. I'll step out now. This is what my analogy, I think this is what we can do as long as we know now. Now, the system, the whole toaster should know who gets toasted or roasted at what level, or get burnt out at what level of heat. So it's a whole organizational policy. So somebody who's listening here who can be a leader, who can be part of the team, big team, same things. As long as you model the behaviors which are towards health building, health optimization, towards preventing stress and burnout, that modeling behavior will also, as Harvard studies have shown, it will also spread to that whole team. And plus, yourself will feel even better as a leader that you have contributed to somebody else's prevention of burnout as well. And these leaders have much more higher potential to go and make organizational changes as well. So we need some compassionate leaders who can understand all these things, and we can reduce absenteeism. We can reduce presentism. A lot of people are present in the hospital, but they're not performing to the maximum level. We can reduce the cost of inefficiency, and we can actually bring more productivity if we look after our own staff. At the end of the day, for organization, it might be economic results they want to see here. But most of the organizations realize now that most of the studies have shown, evidence has shown that by looking after ourselves and looking after the whole team will bring more productivity rather than less productivity. So things are changing. I think obviously we can change at our level. And again, there's a circle of influence and circle of control. I always believe to stay in my circle of influence where I can make a change myself without any problem. But circle of control, it is not in under our control. So we have to see either we can influence that control or we can probably spread the awareness and information for most of the other people horizontally.
Yeah. The healthier you are, the healthy environment around you, but
Yeah.
also remember that the burnout is not your own problem. It may be the organization problem. So where you are, how environment influences you. But what you can do for yourself is to look after yourself.
Definitely.
Yeah. Any inspiring stories that you could share with us that really made the huge change, somebody who experienced burnout and then gone through and had a breakthrough the burnout? What have you learned from that example?
I think a lot of things have happened during COVID time because being anesthetist and working in intensive care.
Oh God, yes.
There was a junior doctor during COVID time who came to me completely depleted. Sleep tracker showed she was getting 4 to 5 hours of fragmented sleep. Heart rate variability was in the bottom. And she had gained some weight from stress eating and all the things. What we do is simple things. We use that what behavioral scientists call implementation intentions, like specific plans, like eat better. We created, if I'm starting a night shift, then I will eat a protein-rich meal beforehand, for example. I will avoid all the ultra-processed foods. I hydrate myself better. Simple things. Okay. Results were measurable. Within 8 to 10 weeks, sleep efficiency improved from 60 to 85%. Heart rate variability doubled. Inflammatory markers were coming down as well. And I've seen so many other people as well, similar results. It's all simple things. Once you change simple things, it makes huge difference for their well-being. And here's also what I found most powerful is that she started what she called micro connections with patients, just 30 seconds of genuine eye contact and presence. Her job satisfaction scores also went up. And the ripple effect is that
Simple as that.
Yeah, it is as simple as that. She started mentoring other junior doctors, sharing these evidence-based strategies. And within 6 months, their department saw a 40% reduction in sick leave as well. So I'm saying it could be multitude of factors, but simple things. This illustrates like what the researchers again say, it's a positive contagion, when one person's well-being practices spread through the network, creating measurable improvements across the entire teams. And also I was doing post-COVID, I did about 12 weeks of WhatsApp ran workshops for my friends who are my medical school friends, and also the medical doctors here in UK who were from India. There's a network from BAPU, which we call British Association of Physicians of Indian Origin. So for those members, I ran 12 weeks of WhatsApp workshops. Every week, I was giving them simple task of changing one habit. Like for example, week 1 was hydration. Week 2 was changing their plate. Week 3 was mindful eating. Week 4 was just 10,000 steps. Week 5 was about stress management, like doing some simple breathing exercise. I'm not talking about big meditation or mindfulness here. And week 7 was like walking in nature. All these things included. What I'm saying is, after 12 weeks, everybody was a changed person. To my surprise, that those people who these workshops were done even 3 years ago now, even now they still text me and say, we haven't gone back to 12 weeks before how they were even now. So you can see the simple practices, they're still contributing, their habits have contributed to their health. And some of my colleagues who were on anti-diabetic medications on type 2 diabetes, they have stopped taking medications. Some of them have stopped taking antihypertensives as well. So it is a huge thing. I see bits and pieces everywhere with everybody.
Amazing. I think I just started thinking and brainstorming what small acts throughout the day do I need to implement, my small step. And I just suddenly realized I need to connect more with people, and I'm going to start smiling more when I go out and about and meet the colleagues in the corridor or seeing my patients. I promise I'm going to smile more, because this is what I needed to listen today, just to get that sort of a task. And I think you just listen to these implementable steps and tasks that Sunil gave it to his colleagues, and they made some changes. So you could apply that to yourself and think about which step can you, and which week you want to practice to make you feel better, to rebuild your well-being. And maybe the last question I have is, where can listeners follow your work and connect with your ideas?
Obviously, I'm on the YouTube talking a lot about burnout, and you can follow me on my website www.drsunilkumar.co.uk, and through that website you can get to my other social media channels, including LinkedIn. I always share about lifestyle medicine, burnout, workplace well-being, rehabilitation, all these things I always keep sharing in my YouTube channel as well. So please do follow. You've got enough tips and tricks there to do. And yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. So thank you so much, Dr. Kumar, for sharing your powerful insights and reminding us all that burnout is not personal failure. It's a system signal. And learning how to read these signals is very important and can be preventable. So whether you're managing MS, or you're supporting somebody who lives with MS, or you're maybe a healthcare provider, I hope that this conversation really helped to understand, helps you feel seen and supported and inspired to take next very small, tiny steps that we just discussed towards thriving, towards well-being, towards better life. And it doesn't take long, and you need to start it now, today, because as you can see that your wellness improves the following day. It takes days to see the differences in your microbiome, how the brain wires. After 8 weeks, your brain just full of the energy, full of the new synapses and neurochemicals that shifts to one or another side and gives you a good feeling about yourself. So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share with someone who may need this information right now and may benefit a lot. And if you share and review and leave the comments, it helps us to reach many more hearts and souls, and it helps to build up better community. Until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to our interview, and don't forget, be well. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Agne. Thank you. Thank you so much. I wanted to leave with one reflection, but I know it's too late now, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, you can, let's go. So what's your
Right.
reflection? One small step that you
Yeah.
would like to provide to people about their rebuilding their well-being?
I just really want everyone to try one simple thing, which I'm going to say now, and you can come back and comment on the podcast video as a comment, so that to know what you have done. So what I call it as, it's called reset ritual. Set 3 random alarms during your day. When they go off, do this for 30-second sequence. 1, feel your feet on the ground. It activates your parasympathetic system. Number 2, take 3 conscious breaths. It stimulates your vagus nerve. Number 3, notice one thing you can see, hear, or feel during that 30-second cycle. So this might sound simple, but neuroimaging studies show that mindful awareness practices like this literally change brain structures within 8 weeks. You are building what neuroscientists call interoceptive awareness, your ability to sense your internal state. Why it works? It interrupts what we call as a default mode network activity, that constant mental chatter that drains energy and increases our anxiety. So try this for 1 week, and you will notice improved emotional regulation, better sleep quality, increased resilience to daily stressors. And I really want you all to comment to Agnes podcast on that channel, so that we know what you have done and how it has affected you. Thank you for that.
Oh, such a beautiful last message. Amazing. So no, it's really powerful, and I've practiced with you today, followed your every single word, and I think I feel much energized. I feel better, and I'm looking forward to implement these small steps in my day-to-day life. So as everyone else is going to follow you too. Thank you so much, and thanks for your time, and goodbye for now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Okay.